Welcome to The Simple Fix, a myth-free movement podcast from Keza Wellness. I'm Kerryn, your host, a coach who blends strength, Pilates, and pain science so that you can move well, feel great, and live boldly without the hype. Welcome to the Simple Fix podcast home edition. My name is Kerryn, and this is home edition only because it is filmed at home casually instead of in the studio. I cannot believe that this is our 13th episode. This episode will conclude the end of our first season. Okay, so this is season 1 done, 13 episodes out already. I'm really stoked and excited that we're all the way here. Okay, like we got here. I have been thinking about starting this podcast for so long. I'm still not 100% sure of where it's going to go. But what I do know is we've had some fantastic conversations up until this point. And I have some very exciting things lined up for season 2 as well. So we literally are just getting started. Now, today I wanted to round off the season by touching on something that I am super passionate about at the moment. And I'm sure you, our listeners, are experiencing the same thing, and that is the current state of the Pilates industry. Okay, and now this is a really broad topic, and I've touched on it throughout the season a little bit with a couple guests, both a studio owner as well as a studio goer. I've spoken a little bit about it, and now I just want to revisit the topic and talk about what the actual issue is, because I think, like most things, we're looking from the outside and we're going, oh, there's like, you know, there's disruption in this industry, there's movement in this industry, there's momentum in this industry, and we're not really understanding like what all of that means when it starts to fit together. So my name is Kerryn and I am a Pilates instructor. I've been working in the industry for over a decade. I have seen the ins and outs of private clinics, commercial gyms, commercial studios, boutique studios, owning my own thing, partnering with others, trying to move online, moving back into the home, that kind of thing. And I really do know how it all works. And I really understand what the hell is happening right now. And I want to unpack it. I want to unpack it for you, the listener, who is a Pilates lover and who's trying to understand why you're paying more than ever for your classes, but your quality is lower than ever. I want you, the listener, who is possibly a current instructor, maybe you're new to the game, or maybe you're aspiring to be an instructor. I want you to understand exactly what has happened in this industry so that you know, you have all the information. Progression is so good, right? Like, I know that there's a lot of people who've been in the industry for a while who are annoyed. They're angry about the progression, right? Because when we started, we had to and I get that. And yes, I do feel some of that frustration. But we cannot be mad about progression. It serves all of us that this industry is getting bigger. It serves all of us that we've gone like through a boom, that we're in the spotlight, that we're getting investment. But what it also means is things have changed, systems have changed, and therefore we need to understand what's going on. So let's start right at the very beginning. So a couple years ago, let's call it 5 to 10 years ago, you probably didn't know much about Pilates. You were probably only introduced into Pilates if you had like a dancer or a gymnast friend who was doing Pilates as their conditioning, or if someone who was a little bit older than you that was looking for a gentler, safer exercise regime found a Pilates class. You probably never knew of or saw any of the Pilates equipment. Like reformer was not really a thing. There were a few studios here and there that had the equipment, and it was definitely deemed as this like slower, softer, gentler exercise style. Great. Okay. Then slowly but surely we started to see a bit of reformer Pilates come in. Now, what is the reformer? The reformer is a piece of Pilates apparatus. Many people are, number one, under the disillusion that equipment Pilates is easier than mat Pilates. The equipment was created to help you as a stepping stone to be able to do the mat. Mat is literally the mecca, okay? If you can do all of those movements, shapes, holds, flexion, extension, folding, rolling, all of that on the mat with no assistance and literally just yourself versus gravity, that's what we want. That is alignment, that is coordination, that is your core working really hard. However,
when Pilates was being created, it was being created on bodies that were not able to do these things. They were struggling. They had restrictions. Maybe they were struggling to work on the floor. Maybe they were struggling with a little bit of range of motion of one of their joints. And the problem is, when it's just you and the mat, you don't have a lot of support. Okay, and the Pilates equipment is really cleverly designed because it's not just about resistance. This is the other thing. People think, oh, it's just adding resistance. It's not. It's guidance. It's literally every bit of Pilates equipment is created in the shape of like a bit of an arc. There's the idea of the spring moving away and coming back. There's the pedal. There's the barrel. All of it is facilitation of the ideal movement of the body. So this equipment was very cleverly thought of and designed and has been refined and refined and refined. And by refined, I mean it's made softer and softer and softer as the years have gone to make it more like commercially pleasing, because it used to just literally be a box. Okay, the chair was just like a box, was like a little step down. Okay, it started rogue and it's gotten better. So we look at equipment now and we go, oh my gosh, that must be so difficult. No, it's not. Yes, of course you're going to find challenge on the equipment, but it's not all of a sudden this big level up. Okay, it's all there designed to help you get successful on the mat. So that's great. The reformer came in, all of a sudden it was easier to get a hold of reformers, because that's another thing, right? Pilates equipment used to be really expensive and really difficult to get your hands on. So you didn't see many studios. They didn't have the demand to like justify the expense of setting it up, and also there weren't enough instructors and people didn't want to do it, so why were we doing it? You just didn't find it. Then something shifted, okay? Pilates came into the spotlight. All of a sudden, reformer is trending. Not only is reformer trending, but reformers themselves, the actual machines, are easier to get. You've now got tons of companies creating basically dupes of the reformer, okay? There used to only be a few giants in the industry that created them. Now you've got trusted replicas, okay? We've got loads of new companies. You can get ones that close up and fold up in your home. You can get ones that slide under your bed. You can get super budget ones that kind of follow the same concept that you can get by on if you really want to. And then you can get like luxury ones as well. Don't think the industry didn't go the other way. I have seen some ridiculously luxe reformers being sold to people as if they do anything better than your standard good piece of machinery, but whatever. So now all of a sudden the equipment is easier to come by. Okay, also there's demand. All of a sudden we want to be doing reformer, we want to be doing Pilates, we want to be doing equipment Pilates. Oh my God, we want to be doing tower, we want to be doing chair. It's the next thing. Now, first of all, a little pause, because it wouldn't be the simple fix if I didn't sit here and say, movement is movement, okay? The fact that every couple years, this massive fitness industry decides to idolize one form of movement and make you at home believe that without that you are nothing. How have you even got to this point without it yet? That is literally just marketing and capitalism, and we know that and we love it. We're part of the industry, it's fine. However, please know, me as someone who makes my living explaining and helping you understand the beauty of Pilates, I'm also here to tell you that it is not the be all and end all. You have to strength train. The women that you are watching online that look amazing, that are showing you their little Pilates 5-minute routine, that woman is gymming, she is dieting, she is cardio, she is sleeping well, she is doing multiple things to attain that physique. Yes, Pilates is one of them. Yes, Pilates is so helpful and additive. Yes, yes, yes. But it is not it. It is not all. It is not the only. Okay, don't ever let anyone tell you it's the only thing. It's not. We are multifunctional, we are complicated human beings. We need stress, we need recovery, we need length, we need shortening, we need a lot going into us, okay? So, however, does Pilates give you a lot of that? Yes, if you have a good coach, you're gonna be getting quite a good, well-rounded workout. You're not gonna be getting the resistance training that you need to build strong bones, but you are gonna be getting enough, okay, from your Pilates practice, if you're doing the correct Pilates practice and if you're practicing on the mat as well as on your machines. Okay, so now Pilates is trendy. Reformer studios are popping up. Everyone wants to do it. All of a sudden, paying 30 quid for a class, not a problem. Excuse me? Crazy, actually, but not a problem. You're gonna pay your money, you're gonna go get on the reformer. Okay, great. So now we've got equipment like everywhere you go. We've got studios and classes everywhere you go, and we've got clientele everywhere you go. So what's missing? Instructors. Now, let me give you the sad story of what it used to take to become an instructor. And please know, if you are newer into the industry, I am not mad that you got here in 2 weeks instead of 2 years. Welcome. Thank you for coming. However, okay, this is not to say that your training was not as good as mine, or that your training is not as good as someone who's done a longer training, but you are talking to people who had to have full anatomy degrees and then do at least a 3-month training course, and then do at least 9 months of watched upskilling, teacher training, no paid work. Like literally in a studio, you had to get someone to house you, they had to mentor you, they had to watch everything you did, you had to be learning on the go, you had to be attending their classes. It was a lot. There was a lot you had to do. By the end of it, you really understood your anatomy. You really understood what it means to modify an exercise. I don't really think you understand what modify an exercise means. It doesn't mean if you're struggling in a plank, put your knees down. I mean, yes, that is what it means. But do you understand why you're modifying? Do you understand what you're modifying? Do you modify, or do you just tell them to leave it out? Are you capable of finding a way to challenge the body in the same way while protecting that person's injury or struggle? Like, do you actually have that understanding? And maybe you do, but maybe you don't. Now, the reason you don't is because you're getting educated in a tiny window. It's not your fault. It's not even your educator's fault. It's literally just that the industry is running at 100 miles an hour, and so it is spitting out new instructors. And what you're doing is you're leaving your training course, and I know you're all good students. And like, there is no sarcasm in my voice when I say this, that I've not met a new Pilates instructor who is lazy or stupid or not interested in the craft. I know that you are. I know that you go into your course and you work really hard with what they've given you, and then you qualify. These days you qualify anything between 2 days and 2 weeks. Great, you're qualified. Crazy, you're qualified. That then means that you can get hired next door. So you walk out the door, you go into the next studio, they've got a full schedule, they're trying to pump out classes, you've got a certificate, you've got your insurance, you're on the schedule. And then what? You literally have a list of exercises, a list of super basic modifications and progressions. Probably a big list of like red, don't, if this, don't, that's, that you don't really understand, but you've parroted, and now you go teach a class. And then you wonder where the hell the disconnect is. Okay, so taking it back, what used to happen, right, is very extensive training. First of all, it was really hard to qualify for one of these courses. You had to either already be a fitness professional, or you had to have an anatomy background, or you had to have studied, your sports sciences or something like that. You had to be working with the body. You had to know your skeleton. You had to know your muscles. You really actually had to have some anatomy training. With anatomy training, obviously came a little bit of biomechanical understanding. Okay? It was not even assumed. It was so necessary for you to have those. You didn't get into the course without them. So number one, I know that for a lot of UK-based courses, that rule is not that strict. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Okay? I understand the need for things to be more accessible. I mean, before, you weren't going to be able to quit your job and train and start working all in the same 3 months. You were going to have to overlap it. It was going to have to take a lot of time, or you were going to have to take a big working hiatus while you paid a lot of money for studying, spent a lot of time in your course, and then started training, or then started working, right? So I get it. We've shortcutted it, which is good. Progression is good. But what happens is quality dilution. So now you arrive in the industry, okay, and you've done your course and you've worked really hard. And let's talk about your course. Let's talk about what you learn at your course. Again, no shade to any of the course providers. I'm sure that you are doing your absolute best. However, this is what happens. You are taught a repertoire, a list of exercises, okay? and you are taught the preferred spring and harder versus lighter. Who the fuck knows what that means, but okay, cool. And then you are given some teaching tips like flow the class, don't change springs too often, start with these 3 exercises, end with these 3 exercises. Okay, great. Then you walk into a commercial room, you've got 8 bodies at least in front of you. All of them at different levels, all of them with different expectations. Depending on what studio you're in, you might be encouraged to teach a little bit more classically. What does that even mean? Unless you have a classical qualification, what does classically mean? Exactly, you don't even know. So unless you are a classically trained, which literally classical Pilates has its own thing. They're doing footwork for 20 minutes. Don't ask me why. It is literally their own thing. So if you're in that studio, you probably have some guidance and you're probably doing okay. But if you're just walking into one of these boutique, dynamic, new, blah, 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 basically we're going, hi Kerryn, thanks for your certificate. Here's your 10 a.m. slot. Good luck. And then you go, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to class plan. Because again, as an instructor, you guys are not lazy. You guys are not silly. You guys are not stupid. You're elite. You're elite human beings. I know who you are. I work with you. I love you guys. But you go, I guess I'll class plan. How do you class plan? You go, okay, here's the list. They said I could start the class with these exercises. Then I want to find one spring that works through these exercises. And then I'm going to end over here. Great. So then I end up in a class that starts with kind of a nothing footwork because it's not classically cued, and also it's not really a leg press because my back's in the wrong position, but fine. So I do a bit of footwork and then I do a bit of calf stretch and then I possibly take it into a bridge. Okay, great. Then you've been told to not change your spring. So you probably pick the medium spring, like a blue or something, and you do like a lunge, a single arm until my single arm feels like it wants to fall off. Maybe if we're lucky, a little bit of weight bearing in the middle, and then we flip it around to the other side because all of that flows really nicely without having to change a spring. And then we just end on our backs with feet in straps. And if you have tons of personality and you've got a lot to talk about during that, you could probably hold my focus for most of the class. If you don't actually know why we're doing any of these exercises, if there isn't actually a reason we're doing this one, then this one, then this one, and if you do not know how to help the people in front of you feel what you want them to feel, that class is going to get real boring, real repetitive, and real fucking amateur real quick. So what is the solution? Now, I don't know. Okay, I'm looking at it. I'm like, go and get educated with the bigger names. However, even the bigger names are rushing your education at the moment. I know that. I am in the industry, guys. I'm listening to you. I'm sending people to specific names, and then I'm hearing what's happening at these courses, and I'm thinking, okay, that's not helpful. So what I want you to understand is that your actual Pilates training versus the ability to teach a commercial room, those are two different things. And unfortunately, they're not linking up. Okay? Now, what can you do about this? What can you, as the listener, okay, as someone who is a Pilates instructor, what can you do to be better? Number one, find a mentor. A good mentor. Probably a mentor outside of wherever you trained up, because where you trained up is just trying to squeeze you. Okay, they want you to come back. They want you to come and mentor with them. That's how they're paying their bills, okay? I'm not saying you won't find a great mentor there. I'm just saying broaden your horizons. If you know you're going to be going into commercial teaching, you need to look for a commercial teaching mentor. You need to look for someone who is teaching big groups, who is getting great reviews, who is managing the class, who is not spending hours class planning. You shouldn't need to class plan, and hear me out on that, okay? If you understand the movement and what it's doing, if you understand the body and where it may require support, and if you understand the equipment that you're working on, you should not need to class plan. Class planning is a bit sus, no? Because you don't know who's going to be in front of you. If I go, oh, this is my class plan, and Shelly walks through the door, and all of a sudden, all of my class plan was weight bearing and Shelly's got a broken wrist, what am I going to do? If my class plan is, I want to help them rotate to find space in their back, wake up and condition the backs of the legs, the hamstrings and glutes, and ensure that they get a good amount of flexion. Now I have a goal. I have a 3 movement goal. I know I want to rotate and open. I know I want to load the lower body. I know I want to work on flexion. I can then look at the room in front of me, take the first 5 minutes of a basic warm up to go, okay, yes, 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 now I know what I'm doing. Or, okay, that won't work with that person, that won't work with this person, this is the solution that works, here we go. That sounds like a very complex elite skill. It's not. If you understand the material, you should be able to do that. The problem is not that you're unable to do it. The problem is that you're not looking at the work the correct way. It's not about just knowing the repertoire, okay? The repertoire means nothing. What matters is your understanding of bodies, movements, and the Pilates principles. How are we trying to get the Pilates principles onto the bodies? How many different ways can we do that? That's your repertoire. And once you have all of that in your brain, you're looking at the bodies in front of you and you're going, today, I've got a strong ass class. Okay, they're with it, they're focused, they're giving advanced energy. I'm gonna take them through some of the bigger movements. We're gonna be inverting, we're gonna be coordinating, we're gonna be really challenging their finer skills. We're gonna be adding in challenge. That's gonna be a great class for those people. Sometimes you're gonna have the same body, the same level of strength in the room, they're gonna be unfocused. They're gonna be missing cues. They're gonna be not with you in the room. That is not the day you try and teach them maximum coordination. That is the day you bring it down to basics, you get them grounded. They're still having a great workout, they're still working just as hard, but you have really molded to what is happening in front of you. That is the difference between a okay class and a great instructor. If you want to be a great instructor, you need to really understand the material and not just memorize the repertoire. And I'm going to say it again, it's not your fault. You're coming out of training that has been rushed, okay? Because the industry is literally demanding that of us. But just understand it and know, even as you start working, you can continue to educate. You have to. You're going to have to continue to educate because you know what? The person next to you is. The person who's coming into that shift after you today, they're educating. They're taking a look at their craft and they're stepping it up and up and up every single time. Now, if you have lasted this long in the episode and you are actually not an instructor and you're actually someone who enjoys Pilates, hopefully hearing all of this is making a little bit more sense. I know that we all have experiences with instructors, and it's not just in a Pilates class, it can be in any class whatsoever, where you go, I don't know why, but that was so good. Or I don't know why, but that was just not that good. Yeah, okay, I feel like we did all the exercises, but whatever, I wasn't focused, I wasn't engaged, I wasn't connected, I wasn't understanding what I was doing. Sometimes we can't always put our finger on why an instructor is better or why a class is better or not. It's because it's a lot of little things. It's the instructor's ability to take the repertoire, throw it out the window and teach the bodies in front of them. It's the instructor's ability to, while you're moving through an exercise, continuously help you find layers of understanding. Layers. This is another thing. Okay. A lot of new instructors I teach to, they're like, oh yeah, I layer. I know I need to layer. I layer. Great. What does layering mean? There's no straightforward answer. Layering can mean many things. Okay. So layering can mean, now you're doing a lunge. Now you're doing a lunge and a scooter. Now you're doing a lunge and a scooter and a pulse. 3 layers. Great. Okay. You've built up the movement, meaning every kind of 15 to 20 seconds when you've added in a new cue, you've also kept my interest. It's getting more complex. Yes. You are layering that movement. However, you can layer without adding choreography. You can layer the thought process, the concentration, the understanding. You can layer steps before we even get to the lunge. A well-layered class, in my opinion, is it's not just what you can do with the lunge, it's what have you done to my body to prepare me for that lunge. So by the time I get into the lunge, I'm like I'm moving well, but I'm also fatigued, but I'm also understanding exactly where I am because I've done all the building blocks to get here. It's a journey. There's so many layers and layering things that you can bring into a class. People just think it's about adding a progression. Boring. Progressions and regressions that is not something you should pat yourself on the back for being able to do. If you understand the movement and you understand bodies and you understand your Pilates principles, progression and regression shouldn't even be something you have to learn. It shouldn't be a list you have to parrot. It shouldn't be an automatic thing you just throw out. It should be so intrinsically understood that it doesn't even feel like a progression and it doesn't even feel like a regression. You know what I mean? You don't want to say to someone, oh, you're struggling with that. I guess you'll just stop and do this instead. What? No. Build it in a way that they stop where they need to be. And if they do take that step too far, they're naturally coming back to where they were comfortable and where they were secure. Okay, so let's try and summarize it. The Pilates industry is really having a moment. We do not know how long this moment will last, but for now, we're in it. What does that mean? There's tons of work, there's tons of demand, and there are tons of ways for you to get educated. Being in the well-being, health and fitness industry, I know myself, it's a lot of hard work, but it is also very rewarding. If you're doing it for the right reasons, you get to be the best part of someone's day. You get to be there when they find confidence that they'd lost years ago. You get to be there when they realize that even though they are a certain age, their life isn't over because their body is still really capable. You get to be part of some super fucking special moments in people's lives when you work in this industry. But the industry is not a selfish one, it is a selfless one. You are there to deliver a service, and it is your responsibility to make sure that you are not delivering that service as an ego statement for yourself, okay? It is not about you, the Pilates instructor, who can do your frickin' planks and crunches and take your ab photos, showing up, doing the class a favor by being there. You are there to guide these people through probably the only movement practice they will do that day, for some of them that week. You are there to ensure, to the best of your ability, that everyone around you has the best movement experience possible. You are there to ensure that they move safely, that they understand their body, this thing that they live in. You as a listener, as a teacher, as an instructor, as a client, you know how complicated your own relationship is with your body. It's not easy. None of us have an easy relationship with our body. It's complex and we live in it, and sometimes it gets sore and we get frustrated, and sometimes it feels great, and sometimes it makes us sick, and sometimes it does amazing things. And all of this we're living through every single day and we can't get away from it. You, as an instructor in this industry, you take that relationship and you either help it along or you hinder it. People leaving your class feeling frustrated that they couldn't do half of the exercises because you decided to make a really spicy class. It's not a good feeling. You can challenge them without them feeling like absolute dog shit afterwards. That should not be your goal. It is your responsibility to be as well prepared as possible. It is your responsibility to deliver a well-balanced, well thought out class. It is your responsibility to pivot in the moment to help that person find what the movement goal is, what the purpose is. If all you have is a list of repertoire, you're probably not going to be able to do that. Now, I sound like I'm taking a shit on the industry. I'm not, okay? I'm just here hoping to explain it a little bit more and explain where the gaps are and why they're happening. And it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to fix. So, if this sounds like a little bit of you, if you're in the industry and you want to do better, if you are lost at how to refine these skills, you're in the right place, hit me up. And otherwise, I just hope that this podcast helps speak to you and explain where the industry is at, why it is where it is, and why you might be feeling what you're feeling, both as an instructor and as a consumer. My name is Kerryn van der Merwe, and this has been the first season of The Simple Fix. And I know it's not all Pilates eccentric. It is about movement and well-being and simplifying that. And we've really had a nice mixed bag on this first season, and I cannot wait for season 2. Thank you so much. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you in the next one.